All the way back in episode 7 of our series, we discussed the invention of the telegraph and how it would have seemed almost miraculous to the people of the time. We also discussed how it signaled the end of some industries, like the Pony Express in the United States, whose man and horse-powered continent-wide letter delivery system was suddenly made completely irrelevant by the revolutionary capabilities of the telegraph. It's easy to reflect on such points in history and wonder what it would have felt like to be alive at the time and witness such a shift. But the truth is, we are in just such a shift right now, potentially an even bigger one. The same high-speed transistors and large-scale networks that made the internet possible have laid the technological foundations for the next big shift in the process of not just how we communicate, but potentially in how we do everything. Having been theorized about and imagined in works of science fiction for decades, in the early 2020s we find it suddenly exploding into broad public use, and its development rapidly accelerating. And it's called artificial intelligence, or AI. In 1860, a business owner in New York wants to get some vital information to his business partner on the other side of the continent in California. He entrusts his letter into the hands of the Pony Express to make the long, often dangerous journey across the continent. At best, his letter would arrive in 10 days' time, but he would never know if it had made it safely, until hopefully a reply arrived, which at the earliest would be almost a month later. 2 years later, the same business owner is in the same situation. He's in New York and he needs to send some vital information to California. He walks to the telegraph office, who sends on his message, with it arriving in California within minutes, and receives a reply within a day. In 2023, a business owner needs some new photos of people playing sport for her website. She calls up a photographer to plan a photo shoot. It takes around 2 weeks of planning and lots of phone calls and emails to book in a shoot day, a location, lighting, wardrobe, makeup, and on-set assistance. And about 1 month and thousands of dollars later, she has her photos for her website. 2 years later, she finds herself in the same situation. Only now, she logs on to a generative AI image platform, and having already taken some short training on entering effective prompts for the AI, within 30 minutes she has her new images ready for her website. Both these stories involve processes of communication, one the written word and one images, and both were completely changed in terms of speed and accessibility by new technology. But while the telegraph rapidly accelerated written communication only, the recent developments in AI are on track to completely change almost all of our digital communication within the next few years. Photography, illustration, video, computer graphics, coding, audio, and researching and writing articles have historically all been mediums that require significant investment of skilled practitioners, equipment, and time, and those limitations are rapidly being stripped away. There are many who currently work within these fields who are concerned they may find themselves, like the Pony Express, suddenly unnecessary. So if we're going to start exploring this topic, we probably should start with defining what artificial intelligence even is, which in itself can be a tricky thing, because it requires us to make a definition for intelligence itself. But perhaps a useful starting point for thinking about this could be that we can describe a machine as having artificial intelligence if it is able to understand data and then adjust its processes and actions in response to that data to achieve specific goals. So a simple example would be the predictive text function that we're familiar with on our phones or computers. This is a program that receives new data, the text you type, then adjusts its output in response to that new data by combining its knowledge of the patterns of the English language and your most used words to serve you what the most likely next words you'll need will be. This is artificial intelligence in a very simple form, though it's often not recognized as such because it has such a narrowly defined simple function. But we make use of simple AI functions like this all the time, often without even being aware of it. This is largely because when we think of artificial intelligence, we're often thinking of the larger, more science fiction idea of a human-like mind, which is the idea of a machine that can perform any intellectual task that a human can. The pursuit of this goal is now its whole own field of research within AI called artificial general intelligence. And while recent prominent AIs such as ChatGPT have seemed to create the appearance of us being close to arriving at this goal, As we break down some of the processes involved in coming episodes, we will discover that we are perhaps not as close as is often claimed. In the coming episodes, we'll talk about the processes involved in some of the bigger, exciting recent developments, like image generators and large language models like ChatGPT. But our next step will be to start simple with talking about one of the terms you would have heard a lot in discussions around AI, which is neural networks. So next episode, we'll get started properly by walking through the process of a simple example of a neural network that can recognize handwritten numbers. And we'll unearth some of the processes that are at the foundation of this completely game-changing innovation called artificial intelligence.